Chapter 11, The G-Spot, Freemasonry, and Washington, D.C. You've likely heard of the G-Spot before. It is typically mentioned in regards to that magical sexual spot for women. We'll get to that one too, but it wasn't where we are going to begin. Instead, we're going back to the U.S. Capitol, another G-Spot, Washington, D.C., where it couldn't be possibly any more G. Recall, G is the seventh letter in the alphabetical order, and in the case of DC's location, it is on the 77th meridian west, known as the American meridian, a number being a rep digit of 7, and a nickname being well-deserved when you recognize the Gematria of United States and America. United States equals 77 reverse reduction, America equals 49 reverse reduction. Could it be any more perfect? The American meridian is the 77th, and the United States equates to 77. The reason this coordinate is so is because of the International Meridian Conference of 1884, where it was agreed for DC to be on the 77th. That was the same year the Fabian Society was established, which George Orwell was a member of, who wrote the book 1984, which we'll learn more about in chapters ahead. But for now, recall what you've learned last chapter, where United States of America sums to 84, as does Masonry, among other things. At the same time, if you use the Chaldean ciphers, 1984, the way the original book cover is written, there are 42 total covers made for the book, and United States of America equate to 77. Also relevant, Fabian, using the ALW's Kabbalah cipher, equates to 77, and not by chance. 1984 equals 77 Chaldean. United States of America equals 77 Chaldean. Fabian equals 77 ALW Kabbalah. Back on the subject of 77th meridian, if you multiply the two digits of 77 as 7 times 7, the product is 49, matching the value of America as well as Washington, as we learned earlier. Even better, if you write out 77 as a word and do the math in reduction, you find it too sums to 49. As we calculate, let us not forget that the square root of 49 is 7, bringing us back to G, the letter in the middle of the Freemason logo, just beneath the compasses, set at 47 degrees, where the divisors of 4 sum to 7, and 7 is the fourth prime number. 77 equals 49 reduction. Washington equals 49 reduction. In the septenary cipher, American meridian also equates to 49. American meridian equals 49 septenary. Keep in mind the letters DC are the fourth and third letters. Thus, if you add them together, the result is yet another 7, our number representing divine completion. As I've said, these tyrants at the top, who've set up shop in the U.S. Capitol, they think they're God, and we'll put them in their place soon enough, truth seeker. It's centuries overdue. The Talmud isn't the authority, and they're going to learn it the hard way only because they have asked for it. DC equals 4 plus 3 equals 7. Star, federal, equals 77, Francis Bacon. And on the subject of God, as we have learned, in reduction gematria, the name sums to 17, which is the 7th prime number. God equals 17 reduction. Speaking of God, the gematria list of 187, pertinent to DC, that we learned about earlier, including George Washington, Washington, D.C., ancient accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry, and Society of Jesus, is again derived from the 187 chapters of the Torah and the Hebrew gematria of Elohim. In numerology terms, 187 is 7. Think about it. God created the world in 7 days according to Genesis, the first book of the Holy Bible, which is very heavy with the number 7, from start to finish. Speaking of the finish, Revelation, having reduction gematria of 49 as well, the number again having a square root of 7, has more 7 symbolism than any other book of the Bible, including 7 churches, 7 seals, 7 angels, 7 trumpets, and so on. And that is important because the name Philadelphia comes from Revelation, what was the capital prior to being relocated momentarily to New York, before settling in at Washington, D.C., where it has been ever since. Revelation equals 49 reduction. Making matters even more interesting, if you multiply 7 times 17, what we think of as God numbers, you get the product of 119, corresponding with the Gematria of USA, as we learned prior, and which reminds of the fateful day, September 11, 2001, which had a whole lot of 77 going on. For a quick reminder in tragic U.S. history by the numbers, it was Flight 77 that reportedly hit the 77-foot-tall Pentagon on the 77th meridian on September 11, 2001, exactly 77 minutes after taking off, according to the 9/11 Commission report, taking off at 8:20 a.m. and crashing at 9:37 a.m. Even better, if you write out September 11th, it totals 77 in reduction, and if you write out Flight 77 in Chaldean, it too totals 77. September 11 equals 77 reduction. Flight 77 equals 77 Chaldean. There are some gold nuggets I'm holding back on that 77 pattern. We'll mine them in on the chapter on September 11, rest assured. And yes, with my language, I'm trying to be cute and pay homage to the 49 Gold Rush, all part of U.S. history by the numbers. What we will learn in that chapter is the ritual on September 11 had much to do with Solomon's temple, dating back to ancient Jerusalem and King Solomon, who used to get an annual shipment of 666 talons of gold. Of course, Solomon's temple is where the secrets lie that are taught about in Freemasonry, the secret society. As we learned last chapter, secret society also shares the Gematria of 77. Let us calculate one more time for good measure. Secret society equals 77 reverse reduction. If you're paying attention, 8:20 a.m., the time Flight 77 took off, is the 500th minute of the day. A fitting time to take off for crashing into the 5-sided Pentagon that has 5 stories above ground and a 5-acre court in the middle. As for the time it crashed, that was the 577th minute of the day, which is the 106th prime number plus I see a 77 in there. You? In numerology terms, the number 106 breaks down to 7, 1 plus 0 plus 6 equals 7. Thus far, we have largely neglected this number, 106. But it is a big one, representing the words authority, tree of life, and prophecy. Speaking of which, Israel was recognized as a nation on a date with 106 numerology. November 19, 1947. The tyrants at the top, because they believe they're God's chosen people, they think they're in control of prophecy, which is why they plan the future by this code. If you read about the criticisms of Kabbalah, one big one is that it is used for divination, which has to do with future telling. As we know, the psychopaths who are responsible for 9/11 and a whole lot more are most definitely planning the future by the numbers and executing events by the code. Authority equals 106 reverse ordinal. Prophecy equals 106 ordinal. Tree of life equals 106 reverse reduction. E equals 22. As we know, the psychopaths are the Zionists. If you've ever heard the phrase, the world is a stage, it no doubt came from this gang. The same group that controls Hollywood, the biggest theater stage there is. And these tyrants most certainly make good use of the motto, staging incidents, meant to impact the mind's eye of the masses, as they so effectively do, so that they can carry on their agenda with little interference. Incidents such as September 11, 2001 being prime examples of the effectiveness of their tactics. Think about what happened in the wake of that date, with the Patriot Act and the wars of aggression that benefit only Israel. If you're not aware, it was Ehud Barak, the former defense minister and prime minister of Israel, who called for the United States to launch a war on terrorism on September 12th, one day after the planned theatrics of the day prior. It was a Zionist who coined that term and asked for that war, which we are now still engaged in, 16 years later, and counting. A war that has only made the world less safe. Think about it. Overnight, a war was born, and a collection of bills that had been tried and failed in Congress for the past several decades were rammed through in the name of protecting us from the boogeyman in the cave, supposedly in Afghanistan. As a result, we the people lost our rights, and the federal government gained much power and greater control over the masses. In light of the motto, "The world is a stage," let us now decode the words power, Zionist, Judaism, and theater. For all but Zionists will use ordinal Gematria, our most straightforward method, and for Zionists will use reverse ordinal. Power equals 77 ordinal. Theater equals 77 ordinal. Zionist equals 77 reverse ordinal. Judaism equals 77 ordinal. Donald J. Trump equals 77 reverse reduction. P equals 11. Take a moment to think about the mathematics of 11 times 7, or 7 times 11. The product is 77. I bring this up because September 11, once upon a time, was the 7th month and the 11th day. That was when we were on the Julian calendar, before we converted to the Gregorian system, moving the new year to the dead of winter instead of the time of new beginnings, spring. Speaking of calendars, New Year's Day for the Old World Coptic Christians is September 11th. This is a date that many contend is the birthday of Christ, also summing to 77 in ordinal Gematria. If you've read the Bible, you know that in Luke there are 77 generations to Jesus, which completely contradict the 42 generations to Jesus that begin the New Testament in Matthew. For those who contend the book was written by God, I'll tell you now, you shouldn't have to make excuses for God's inaccuracies. He apparently can't even keep the lineage of his own son in line, just books apart. After all, God is the perfect creator, but perhaps not the perfect author. Christ equals 77 ordinal. Back on the subject of theater, when Barack Obama became president, after telling the world to forget about the lies of September 11 and that it was water under the bridge, he reopened Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., where Lincoln was supposedly once killed by an actor. In case you forgot, Obama represented Illinois, the land of Lincoln, as it's often called. In the chapter on U.S. presidential assassinations, we'll get to what a numerological ordeal his assassination was. What was funny about Obama reopening the theater was it had been closed since 1977. Emphasis on 77. Do you get the joke? If you listen carefully, you could hear the belly laughs coming all the way over from Israel and the Vatican that day. In Gematria, Ford's Theater also computes to 77 when reverse reduction method is used, and H is 10. Ford's Theater equals 77 reverse reduction, H equals 10. If you do the math, the theater was closed from 77 to 2009, thus 32 years. The number 32 also connects to theater, as well as Barack Obama, when the reduction method is utilized. The name Obama alone also sums to 32 in ordinal Gematria. Theater equals 32 reduction. Barack Obama equals 32 reduction. Obama equals 32 ordinal. Don't forget the date of establishment for the nation or the 32 paths in Kabbalah. The date numerology was as follows: 7/4/1776. equals 7 plus 4 plus 1 plus 7 plus 7 plus 6 equals 32. Also, about the Lincoln assassination, it was the Willard Hotel in D.C. where Lincoln had his first assassination scare. February 23, 1861. That was exactly 216 weeks before being shot on Good Friday, April 14, 1865, and dying the next day, April 15, reportedly, at 7:22 a.m., reminding of our math equation for solving for pi, 22 divided by 7. For a couple more 77s, Willard Hotel equates to the DC-oriented number with the reverse reduction method when h is 10. And if you write out April 15th, the date of Lincoln's passing, it too sums to 77 in reverse reduction, matching the 77 Gematria of Ford's Theater. Later we'll uncover the parallels between the death of Lincoln and Hitler, who are both blamed for wars, and who both passed at the end of wars they're blamed for, in April at age 56. As I've said before, this gang is very repetitive, and this gang is the New World Order that treats the world as a stage. Willard Hotel equals 77 reverse reduction, h equals 10. April 15th equals 77 reverse reduction. Now to take this back to the G-spot, let us also decode Willard Hotel and Ford's Theater in reduction Gematria. With this method, we will decode the very familiar 58. We'll also revisit our prior list of 58 from chapters earlier that pertains to Washington, D.C., the highly Freemasonic city. Willard Hotel equals 58 reduction. Ford's Theater equals 58 reduction. Freemasonry equals 58 reduction. Rosicrucian equals 58 reduction. Rose Cross equals 58 reverse reduction. Fraternal equals 58 reverse reduction. Secret Society equals 58 reduction. Solomon's Temple equals 58 reduction. Herod's Temple equals 58 reverse reduction. Tracing Board equals 58 reduction. Jerusalem equals 58 reverse reduction. Craftsman equals 58 reverse reduction. United States equals 58 reduction, S equals 10. Washington equals 58 reduction, S equals 10. We the people equals 58 reduction. In God we trust equals 58 reduction. Annuit coeptus equals 58 reduction. Don't tread on me equals 58 reduction. Power equals 58 reverse ordinal. Press equals 58 reverse ordinal. Big Brother equals 58 ordinal. After re-examining the very significant list of 58, want to take a guess at the Gematria of G-spot? If you guessed 58, give yourself a pat on the back. And to go a little deeper, think about the Kabbalah tree of life, where Yesod represents the sexual organs. G-spot equals 58 reverse ordinal. Yesod equals 58 ALW Kabbalah. Now consider this. Instruments of geometry surround the Freemason logo with the G in the middle. They are the compasses and the square. Let us take a moment to decode the word vagina, knowing what we have learned about the gematrio of the word geometry. The math is as follows. Vagina equals 108 reverse ordinal. Geometry equals 108 ordinal. Geometry equals 108 reverse ordinal. Gematrio equals 108 ordinal. Think about it. Geometry, gematrio, gematria, all beginning with G. For those experienced in lovemaking, you know it is a measured course, not unlike geometry. For us men, if you want to please the woman, you have to hit spots and connect the dots if you know what I'm saying. And speaking of love, let us compare the gematria of the word vagina and penis. Vagina equals 54 ordinal. Penis equals 54 reverse reduction. P equals 11. E equals 22. Love equals 54 ordinal. Love equals 54 reverse ordinal. Star, 45 equals 54 reduction. 45 reverse reduction. 126 ordinal. 117 reverse ordinal. Star, 54 equals 54 reduction. 45 reverse reduction. 126 ordinal. And 117 reverse ordinal. Let us not forget Washington, D.C. is the same city that pays tribute to Osiris's phallus, with the 555-foot tall Washington Monument. As I write this, it is also the same city with the groper-in-chief, Donald Trump, who boasted to Billy Bush, the relative of the last Republican president, King George II, about how, because of his celebrity status, he could grab by the pussy in regards to any woman of his choosing. That news story was released October 7, 2016, a span of 33 days before the rigged selection, and not by coincidence. Supposedly, the recording released that date was from 2005, but I guarantee you, when it was recorded with the intent of being played that exact day for Trump's well-planned and very rigged selection. As for the number 33, we know it connects to G, federal, Masonry, secrecy, Gnostic, and also sex, as well as Billy Bush, and Trump's family's original name, Drumpf. It also connects to October, the lone month with 33 gematria, when the audio tape was put out. G equals 33, Francis Bacon. Sex equals 33, reverse ordinal. Drumpf equals 33, reduction. Billy Bush equals 33, septenary. October equals 33, reduction. The date of the recording released was one with numerology of 33 as well as 53. Regarding the number 53, recall how it connects to gematria of womb, as well as Vesica Pisces, what is the womb of the universe. 10/7/16 equals 10 plus 7 plus 16 equals 33. 10/7/2016 equals 10 plus 7 plus 20 plus 16 equals 53. If you think about the history of sex in D.C., you'll likely also think of Kennedy, who was said to have brought his woman in through the back door, as well as Clinton, as in Bill Clinton, the husband of Trump's opponent, Hillary. Kennedy equals 33, reduction. Clinton equals 33, reduction. And in light of G-spot gematria, let us not forget that Donald Trump was the winner of the 58th presidential selection, who hired 58-year-old Steve Ray many months after announcing he was running for president from the 58-story Trump Tower. Fittingly, the name Bush, as in Billy Bush, who he was talking to, also contains the gematria of 58. Bush equals 58 reverse ordinal. Star, George W. Bush equals 58 reduction. And for the record, vagina and Trump Tower share gematria of 45, matching Trump becoming the 45th U.S. president. As we decode, recall how geometry, as well as gematrio, each equate to 45. Vagina equals 45 reduction, V equals 22. Trump Tower equals 45 septenary. On a related note, on August 10, 2017, or 10/8, Syncing with Vagina, Taylor Swift testified about another man groping her vagina, at least according to news headlines and media sketches. Again, If it's in the news, it's always manufactured by the code, which tells you all you need to know. It's fake. Please take a moment to visit my blog at freetofindtruth.blogspot.com, where I have captured the propaganda in the headlines every single day of the calendar year, dating back to 2013. If you look at the headlines from August 10, 2017, Taylor Swift's testimony story was on the front page next to a picture of Donald Trump for the entire day. And certainly not coincidentally, but instead all part of the monumental mocking. Speaking of which, let's decode Swift to see how it factors into the equation. Swift equals 77 ordinal. Swift equals 58 reverse ordinal. At the time of her testimony, she was 27 years old, also connecting to the Gematria of vagina as well as penis and dick. One more time to make sure you're hearing me. Everything in the news is manufactured by the code. Vagina equals 27 reduction star. Dick equals 27 reduction K equals 11. Penis equals 27 reduction. Penis equals 27 reverse reduction star. For a teaching moment, anytime the media emphasizes words, there is gematria behind them. Star. This headline is from CNN, August 10, 2017. Horrifying and shocking equals 108 reverse reduction.